Listen up, because we are about to fix that noisy, chaotic mess inside your head. You know exactly what I am talking about. It is that relentless narration that starts the moment you wake up and does not shut up until you finally pass out from exhaustion at night. It is the voice that reminds you of that embarrassing thing you said in 2008 while you were trying to order coffee. It is the commentator that judges your hair, your bank account, and your texting skills. Today we're diving into a book that is basically the manual for how to evict that toxic roommate living in your brain. We are talking about The Untethered Soul by Michael Allen Singer. Now, do not let the title scare you off. It sounds like something you would find in the dusty section of a crystal shop next to the incense that smells like a grandmother's attic. But trust me, this book is practical, it is sharp, and it calls you out on your nonsense in the best way possible. The core problem this book tackles is simple but terrifying. Most of us are completely enslaved by our own thoughts and emotions. We think we are our thoughts. We think we are the neurotic voice in our head screaming about the future. Singer is here to grab you by the shoulders and say, hey, guess what? You are not that voice. You are the one listening to it. And that tiny shift in perspective is the difference between being a miserable ball of stress and actually enjoying this weird ride called life. So get comfortable, grab a drink, and let's break this down into some actual life lessons you can use without having to move to a cave in the Himalayas. Lesson number 1 is what I like to call the roommate from hell. Singer starts off by asking you to imagine if that voice in your head was an actual person walking next to you. Just picture it. You're trying to watch a movie, and this guy next to you is whispering, hey, do you think you left the stove on? You probably did. Your house is going to burn down. Oh, look at that actor. He has better teeth than you. You should probably get braces. Wait, why did you eat that popcorn? You're going to be bloated tomorrow. If this was a real person following you around, speaking everything your inner voice says out loud, you would have filed a restraining order within 10 minutes. You would think this person is absolutely insane. You would not take their advice on anything. You would tell them to shut up and get away from you. But because this lunatic lives inside your skull, you not only listen to them, you believe them. You enter into full-blown arguments with them. You let them dictate your mood, your choices, and your self-worth. Here's the analogy. Imagine you are the landlord of a nice apartment, which is your consciousness. You have rented a room to a guy named Steve. Steve is paranoid, insecure, and dramatic. When Steve screams that the world is ending because you got a funny look from the cashier at the grocery store, you do not have to believe him. You can just look at him and say, okay, Steve, thanks for the input, but I'm going to go ahead and pay for my eggs now. The lesson here is separation. You are the observer. You are the consciousness that notices the voice talking. You are not the voice itself. When you realize that, you can stop taking your own neuroses so seriously. You can watch your thoughts go by like terrible TV commercials without buying the product. Lesson number 2 is about the inner thorn. This is my favorite concept in the book because it explains why everyone is so weirdly defensive all the time. Singer asks you to imagine you have a thorn stuck in your arm. It hurts. It's right there in the soft spot. Now you have 2 choices. Choice A is you pull the thorn out. It will hurt for a second, and then it will heal, and you move on. Choice B is what 99% of us do. We decide to make sure nothing ever touches the thorn. We bandage it up. We build a weird scaffolding around our arm so nobody bumps it. We stop hugging people on that side. We change how we sleep. We design our entire wardrobe around not aggravating the thorn. Eventually, we expect everyone else to walk around us on eggshells so they don't touch our thorn. The thorn represents your old traumas, your fears, and your insecurities. Maybe you got your heart broken 5 years ago. Instead of processing that pain and pulling the thorn out, you decide you're never going to be vulnerable again. You build a wall. You avoid romantic movies.
You interpret every innocent comment as an attack. You're spending a massive amount of energy managing your life so that nothing touches your sensitive spot. It's like owning a Ferrari, but driving it at 10 miles an hour in an empty parking lot because you're terrified of scratching the paint. That's not driving. That's anxiety with wheels. Singer says you have to stop protecting the thorn. When life hits that sensitive spot and you feel that flare of anger or jealousy or sadness, instead of pushing it away or yelling at the person who triggered it, you need to just relax and let it burn through. It's just energy. If you don't resist it, the pain actually passes. If you resist it, you trap it there forever. Stop building a lifestyle around your injuries and just heal them. Lesson number 3 is the infinite energy source. Have you ever noticed how when you're in love or really excited about a new video game or project, you can go for days without sleep? You have endless energy. You're buzzing. But when you're depressed or bored or doing your taxes, you're exhausted after 5 minutes. You're literally falling asleep in your chair. You didn't eat more food in the first scenario. Biologically, you're the same machine. So where did the energy come from? Singer argues that inside you there is an infinite source of energy. You can call it chi, or spirit, or shakti, or just vibes. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's always there. The only reason you feel drained is because you've closed the valve. We close our hearts and minds the moment we don't get what we want. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and boom, you clamp down. You get tight. You restrict the flow. You spend your whole day opening and closing this valve based on whether people are being nice to you, or whether it's raining, or whether the Wi-Fi is fast enough. It's like a garden hose. The water is the energy. It's always on, it's always pressurized. But you're standing there stepping on the hose every time something annoys you. Then you wonder why you're thirsty and tired. The goal is to learn to stay open, even when things go wrong, especially when things go wrong. It's the spiritual equivalent of keeping your cool. When you feel yourself tightening up because your boss sent you a passive-aggressive email, that's the moment to consciously relax your shoulders, take a breath, and take your foot off the hose. You'll be amazed at how much more you can get done when you're not wasting all your horsepower on being offended. Now, before we move on to the terrifying concept of the comfort zone, I need to ask you a favor. You know that voice we talked about earlier? The one that says it's too much effort to click a button? Don't listen to Steve. Steve is wrong. If you're enjoying this breakdown, please hit that like button and subscribe. It tells the algorithm that we're cool, and it helps me keep making these videos for you. Also, I have a question for you to answer in the comments. What is the most ridiculous thing your inner voice has tried to convince you of recently? Mine told me that if I didn't buy a specific brand of toothpaste, I would die alone. Let me know yours down below. All right, let's get back to it. Lesson number 4 is escaping the comfort zone. Singer describes the comfort zone not as a cozy blanket, but as a cage. We build these walls of preference. I only like this kind of food. I only go to these kinds of places. I only talk to these kinds of people. We think these walls keep us safe, but actually they just make our world tiny. Imagine you're a bird. You have the ability to fly anywhere in the sky, but you decide you're terrified of the wind, so you build a little box and you sit in it. You decorate the box, you put up wallpaper, you get a nice little rug, and then you spend the rest of your life defending the box. You worry if the walls are strong enough. You worry if the roof is leaking. You're a bird in a box, terrified of the sky. That's what we do when we cling to our comfort zones. We trade the infinite possibilities of life for a false sense of security. We stay in jobs we hate because the unknown is scary. We stay in bad relationships because being single is scary. Singer says you need to look at the edges of your comfort zones not as barriers, but as frontiers. When you feel fear, that's actually a good sign. It means you've hit the wall of your cage. Most people hit the wall and back away. They retreat to the center. You need to hit the wall and lean into it. The fear doesn't mean stop. The fear simply means you're about to grow. It's like lifting weights. If your muscles don't burn, you're not getting stronger. If your life doesn't scare you a little bit, you're probably not living it. You're just maintaining a museum exhibit of your past self. Lesson number 5 is the art of surrender. Now, surrender is a word that people hate. It sounds like losing. It sounds like giving up and letting the enemy win. In our culture, we are told to fight. Fight for your dreams. Fight the power. Fight the traffic. But in this context, surrender does not mean being a doormat. It means stopping the fight with reality. Here's an example. Let's say it starts raining on your wedding day. You have 2 choices. You can spend the entire day crying, screaming at the sky, complaining to everyone, and being miserable. Or you can surrender to the fact that it is raining. You can get some umbrellas, take some cool, dramatic photos, and have a great party anyway. In both scenarios, the rain is exactly the same. The weather did not care about your feelings. The only difference is your internal experience. One version of you is miserable because you are fighting reality. The other version is happy because you are working with reality. Singer explains that most of our stress comes from wanting the moment in front of us to be different than it is. We are constantly saying, this shouldn't be happening. Well, guess what? It is happening. The universe has been doing its thing for billions of years. It really does not care if you think traffic should be moving faster. Surrendering means you stop wasting energy wishing things were different and start using that energy to deal with things as they are. It's the difference between swimming upstream until you drown or floating downstream and steering around the rocks. Lesson number 6 is death is the best life coach. We do not like talking about death. It is the ultimate party foul. But Singer dedicates a whole section to it because avoiding the idea of death is what makes us waste our lives. He says you should live as if death is a bird sitting on your shoulder. At any moment, you can turn to the bird and ask, is this really worth worrying about, considering you might take me out before lunch? Think about the things you stressed about this week. Someone stole your parking spot. The barista messed up your order. You have a stain on your shirt. Now imagine you find out you have exactly 1 week left to live. Do you care about the parking spot? Do you care about the coffee? Do you care about the shirt? Absolutely not. You would go tell the people you love that you love them. You would go look at the ocean. You would eat the cake. Death puts everything in perspective. It strips away the nonsense. When you live like you are going to live forever, you procrastinate on your happiness. You say, I will be happy when I get the promotion. I will be happy when I lose 10 pounds. You treat your life like a dress rehearsal. But the curtains are already up. The show is live. There are no rewinds. Remembering that your time is finite forces you to prioritize what actually matters. It makes you present. You stop looking at your phone while your friend is talking because you realize you might never hear their voice again. It sounds dark, but it is actually incredibly liberating. It gives you permission to stop caring about petty drama. It's the ultimate permission slip to be authentic, because who cares what people think? We are all just temporary visitors on a floating rock. So, how do we wrap all this up? What is the big takeaway? The Untethered Soul is basically a guide to stopping the self-torture. It's about realizing that you are trapped in a movie theater watching a horror film called My Life, and you have forgotten that you can just stand up and walk out of the theater. You can watch the screen without screaming every time the monster shows up. The monster is your anxiety. The monster is your fear. It's just pixels on a screen. It's just thoughts firing in a brain. Singer wants you to take a step back, just one step back, behind your thoughts, behind your emotions, into the seat of the observer. From that seat, you can watch the storm without getting wet. You can watch your heart break and marvel at the intensity of the feeling rather than drowning in it. You can watch your fear rise up and say, oh, look, there's the fear again. Fascinating. And then go do the thing anyway. It's about unconditional happiness. Most of us have conditions for our happiness. We say, I will be happy if the weather is nice, and if my team wins, and if my spouse is in a good mood. That is a terrible strategy. That is like betting your entire life savings on a roulette wheel every single morning. The odds are against you. The only way to win is to decide to be happy regardless of what the ball lands on. To say, I am going to enjoy this day whether it rains or shines, whether I get the promotion or get fired. I'm going to enjoy the experience of being alive. My final piece of advice for you is this. Stop taking yourself so seriously. You are a biological miracle floating in infinite space. The fact that you exist at all is statistically impossible. So why are you spending this miracle worrying about an awkward silence in an elevator? Next time you feel that tightness in your chest or that voice in your head starts listing your failures, just treat it like a pop-up ad on a website. Do not read it, do not analyze it, do not argue with it. Just click the little X in the corner and get back to the content you actually want to see. That's the journey beyond yourself. It's not about becoming a perfect person without flaws. It's about realizing that the flaws are just part of the scenery and you are enjoying the view. Now, if you made it this far, you are officially deeper than 90% of the internet. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe because we've got a lot more wisdom to unpack in the future, and I don't want you to miss it. Go check out the comments and tell me about your inner roommate. I read all of them. Until next time, keep your heart open, keep your foot off the hose, and remember, you are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. Peace.